Welcome to the Track to AI podcast, your guide to the most impactful AI and tech solutions powered by Chetu. I'm your host, Leonard Goffe, and I love discovering how the right technology can move businesses forward. I speak with experts about everyday tech problems, and we share solutions that actually work. From AI integration to practical use cases, you'll get the clarity you need to make smarter decisions for your company. If you're ready to stay ahead of the tech trends, yes, you've come to the right place. It is time to get on track. So, welcome to our second episode, and today we're going to be discussing digital transformation. So, in this podcast, we talk about how AI is transforming just about everything in the business world and your personal world. But how does AI work with digital transformation? Now, before we start, we have to ask, what exactly is digital transformation and why does it matter? So we talk about AI and digital transformation, and let's define each as they aren't the same. Digital transformation is about changing how a company operates. AI adoption is about enhancing decision-making and automation once the digital foundation exists. Now, many organizations, they're still operating, even in this time, at the age of AI and digital transformation, they're operating almost the same as they did 10 or even 20 years ago. And this holds back efficiency, competitiveness, and profit. So maybe your company still uses Excel spreadsheets for planning and tracking, or you're still using those big email chains. That's not good. Digital transformation means moving from outdated manual processes to data-driven automation, including dashboards, connectivity, and predictive operations. So we're going to give you a couple of success examples today. And one of the best examples of a digital transformation in a company is something we use every day, Microsoft. Now, full disclosure, I'm a fan of Outlook. I've been that way for many, many years. And here at Chetu, we're also an Azure partner, which we use across many of our AI projects for clients. So the old Microsoft, it was built around one-time software licenses. Products like Outlook and Word, you bought that once, and you installed it locally on your computer and your drive. But that's not the most profitable way. As part of its digital transformation, Microsoft fundamentally changed that mindset. It became a cloud-first, AI-driven subscription business through platforms like Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Azure. And it is much more user-friendly. I can use it across all my devices. It's a much better program now. Now, that shift is the reason why Microsoft stayed deeply relevant in the enterprise world, even as tools like Google Calendar and Google Docs gained popularity. Azure especially grew into one of the world's leading cloud platforms. Microsoft didn't just modernize its technology, it redefined how its business worked, and in many ways, how modern businesses work today. Let me introduce today's guest, Rohith Raghuprakash. He's the Director of Operations for Digital Transformation. He manages a team of over 100 people and leads the Digital Services Division for Chetu. He's helping companies transform outdated operations into modern, data-driven, automated systems, dramatically increasing efficiency and profitability. And Rohith, you told me that you also had an example.
Absolutely. First of all, thanks, Leonard. You rightly said digital transformation is about enabling the business to operate smarter and faster. But how? Using technology as a catalyst, right? I would like to touch upon 3 points here. At its core, digital transformation involves modernizing processes, leveraging data and technology, and changing how people work. It's not about changing people's work; it's changing how people work, right? One such example, which all of us know, is Netflix. Netflix moving from a mailing DVD to a data driven global streaming platform now. Wow. That's something great, isn't it? Right. So in 1998 to 2006, Netflix began as an online DVD rental services that compared to any other video rental stores. Okay, customers ordered DVDs online via Netflix websites. DVDs were delivered by mails to the customers. Of course, there was no physical store. But in 2007, Netflix introduced video streaming, which is completely a game changing, right? Moved from physical DVDs to an on demand internet streaming, monthly subscription for an unlimited viewing.
I cannot imagine a world these days without video streaming anymore. Audio
Absolutely.
streaming, video streaming. I mean, it's romantic to have CDs in your house and a record player that a lot of people have, but it's so much easier and much more practical for everyday use to have the video streaming.
Absolutely. So with this kind of a transformation, how did Netflix, how did Netflix achieve this? So as I said, modernizing the process. First point, Netflix replaced the physical manual DVDs rental by mailing and the mailing process using the fully digital content delivery, eliminating the logistic bottleneck, reduced turnaround times, and enabled instant on-demand access. That's the first point. Second point, leveraging data and technology. Netflix used a large-scale data analytics, cloud computing, and AI-driven recommendation engines for the users for personalizing contents, which is amazing. And the third point, changing how people work. Teams shifted to a culture of rapid experimentation during this phase, autonomy and a data-backed decision making, right? It was not just an intuition, it was a data-backed decision making. Engineers, the product managers, and the content team collaborated closely, used the insights rather than intuition to innovate and scale quickly.
I really like how you added in changing how people work, not changing and eliminating jobs, but changing how people work. And the issue here is there's still a really high failure rate. And over 60% of digital transformation initiatives, they've just failed to meet the objectives. So our goal in today's episode is to make sure your company becomes successful in digital transformation. So we have a few questions, of course. And the first one is, if there's a company out there that maybe has failed in digital transformation or they're thinking about it, how can an quote old school company identify the most important operations to modernize? And they're not going to do it across the board just to start, but if there's 3 or 4 really good operations that you think they should modernize, what would those be?
Absolutely. So I always recommend mapping an end-to-end operational journey and asking three simple questions. First would be, where are we losing time? The second would be, where are we losing the money? And third would be, where are we frustrating our customers or employees? When you get answer for these, you know where to modernize, what to modernize, right?
Those are really good, actually, because if you have frustrated customers, you're not going to get income. And if you have frustrated employees, you're just
Absolutely.
not going to keep your employees. Even in today's market, people can find different jobs if they really want. Now, in the examples that you and I just talked about, structural changes were needed. So another issue with digital transformation is that you don't always get the cooperation from stakeholders and even from the rank and file people. So how does that happen? How do we get cooperation when guiding companies in digital transformation?
Okay. So in a lot of traditional organizations, the structural changes fail because people think that they are losing their jobs or means loss of control or relevance there. The way around to fix this is to involve right stakeholders during early digital transformation. Show them that digital changes actually makes their job easier. It's not taking their jobs. What we have seen work consistently is, breaking transformation into manageable phases, setting shared goals across functions, and rewarding collaborations always works. And when people see progress and feel that ownership, cooperation follows. Ultimately, the transformation sticks when people feel that they are the part of the journey, they are building the future and not having it imposed on them, right? That's one very important aspect.
And then I have another question that just came to mind, but when the switch to AI came about 2 years ago, there were some early adopters for AI. So changes happened not only from the top up, but also from the bottom up as well. So top down and then bottom up. Does it work that way with digital transformation, or is it more a top down and then get the parties motivated change?
Yeah, as I said, you always start with a focused area or a department, which where you feel that impact is clear and risk is manageable. So that creates a proof or a momentum and a credibility as well. But if you design it from the day one, you need to also look into a broader vision as well. Transformation works best when you start small using AI so that you prove a value, but you need to also think big enough so that it can scale across your entire organization.
So, how long should it take for a company to transform itself? So, does it work better as a proof of concept where we take one department at a time or one solution at a time? Or is it better to have a master plan for institutional change and go broadly? Which one seems to work in our experience here?
Definitely, it works. It works well when you take a smaller chunk by chunk, like for example, a department by a department. Rather than taking all at once, right? You start with a focused area or a department which has a where the impact is clear and risk is manageable. So let me give you an example here. Right, during the COVID, healthcare didn't digitize everything. It started with telehealth. Okay, proved it worked under pressure and then scaled into a long-term care model. And also, let me give you an example. Instead of trying to digitize every customer interaction at once, first let's customer book appointments online. That's a small change immediately, which would reduce a lot of phone calls and saves a lot of time for the staff who can concentrate on other works, which made things easier for the customers as well. Instead of calling, they can just quickly book an appointment. But the smart part was the same system was later used for reminders, payments, follow-ups, and customer history, which again scaled up.
This really helps too, because I know when I go to the doctor, it's a lot faster than it used to be. So I think they're putting in some of those changes, and it's easier to log on to see my history, to order medications, to make a new appointment. So maybe it worked for my doctor, but it's definitely worked for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, what I meant to say is, when we begin a small improvement, we need to make sure to think a larger picture as well. Okay, and which basically ends up reshaping the entire customer experience in the example that I told you. So that's very important.
Chetu's Track to AI framework helps businesses adopt AI easily. In just 8 steps, you can unify data silos, maximize your ROI, and increase employee buy in. Our experts will create a custom plan designed for your AI. Click the link in the show notes to learn more. Now, how does digital transformation work with legacy software? For example, I mentioned Microsoft Outlook. How does digital transformation still let me use Microsoft Outlook because I'm comfortable with it and so many other people are? But how can we integrate programs like that, legacy programs, with digital transformation to make things become far more efficient?
This is a very good question and very relevant question, Leonard. So digital transformation doesn't mean that you report your legacy systems. It means making them work smarter together. Most organizations rely on certain critical legacy platforms, which we can't replace them overnight. For example, it might be a ERP system like SAP or a health system like Epic Systems. The goal of the digital transformation here is not to eliminate those systems, but to modernize along with them. What we typically do is we wrap legacy software with a modern layer like APIs, automations, analytics, so that the data can flow across the system and the processes become end to end instead of being silos.
That is great. And for our audience who doesn't know, if they don't know what an API is, it's basically getting old information and talking to the new information, communicating with a different language and having a translator, if I'm correct on that.
Absolutely. That's
Okay,
correct.
great. I'm learning things here. There is a big fear in this world, especially for AI, but digital transformation as well. And that is people are thinking that when you have this change, digital transformation, AI, that suddenly their jobs are going to go away. And I've had this conversation with many different analysts and a few other people out there. And my take is that it's going to enhance your job. You're going to be a much more proficient worker with digital transformation. But when you go into a company and you start a digital transformation project, how do you talk to the workers and let them know that their jobs are going to be much better and they're not going to go away?
Absolutely. This is a great question too, and a common one, which a lot of people ask. So I would say people would stop fearing digital transformation when they see that it is taking work off their plate, not their jobs. The work and the job is two different things. They need to make sure, or we need to make sure, that it is taking their redundant work off their plate and not their job. So people don't fear technology; they fear losing relevance. So instead of talking about, right, that's what. So we start by showing how digital transformation removes the most frustrating part of their jobs, probably some repetitive task, manual reporting, chasing approvals, or fixing some errors. All these things can be, digitized and can be automated, and they can actually look into the core relevant things that they need to.
Yes. I'm with you 100%. And humanity has gone through transformations when we were all farmers at one point and then we became factory workers. The age of creativity with digital transformation and AI is coming to humans and we will be much better off for it. That's just my opinion, of course. Now,
Absolutely.
now that we have the workers happy, now that we have the stakeholders happy, a company is going to start looking for a digital transformation services provider. So, if there's top 3 things that they should consider, what would those 3 things be?
You need to pick a partner who understands your business, works with your existing systems, and knows how to drive the real data adoption or the digital adoption. Right? First, business understanding. It is not only just the technical expertise. The right partner starts understanding your operations, your customers, your constraints before proposing any technology. Secondly, the ability to work with what you already have. Most of the companies run some legacy systems. They would have invested a lot of money in it. Like I said, ERP or core platforms and all those things. So the provider needs to know how to modernize around those systems, integrate them, and help to get more values from the existing investment. That's the second point. And third is change enablement. So transform. Basically, we need to make sure to transform or involve people in this process or in this journey so that they understand that we could automate a lot of their repetitive tasks and they can actually concentrate on core of their product. So involving people in this change and training them, communicating them, and showing some measurable wins will definitely help us out. This is the third point.
That is great. And shameless plug. Chetu does all that. We've got 40 different verticals, a lot of different partners, and not that many companies have so many other providers that they work for. AWS, for example, Amazon Web Services, all these different companies that we work with. So most companies don't just have one legacy software going on. They've got quite a few because different departments go for different things. Now, when you come into a company, I'm sure you're going to hit a few roadblocks. Name like one or two of those and tell us what they are and how you overcame them.
The first that I can think of is the resistance from the people to change. Okay, so people are comfortable with what works today, even though if it is inefficient.
And by people we mean the regular workers, not the
Exactly,
okay.
exactly. Regular workers or employees, right? So they are comfortable with what works today, even though if it is inefficient. Because let me give you an example, right? So there is an insurance claim organization. So the insurance adjuster was skeptical about automation because they felt the algorithms that is or the automation and the algorithms that would replace their judgment. But the breakthrough came in when we designed a human in loop model. Automation handled routine claims, exceptions, and made some reviewer decisions. But actually, the adjuster was supposed to take a final review of it and then approve. But once people saw that their expertise was elevated based on the mundane task which was being automated, they started, appreciating the digital transformation, started appreciating the system.
And I agree with you. Once people see the changes that they're able to do and that their jobs aren't threatened, but their efficiency becomes that much greater, people love to have AI and digital transformation. It's true.
It's just about moving out of the comfort zone and trying something different, which would be more efficient. That's it.
Okay. We got two more questions, and then we're going to go into the AI myth of the week. So, tell us about a success story from one of the companies that you've worked with. What was the situation when we first talked to them? What was the situation when this particular project was finished?
So one of the success stories is from a leading claim management organization, which has a national presence in all around 50 states and processes over 2.8 million claims annually, right, on behalf of more than 300 carriers. The challenge that they had is the claim management of millions of claims was done manually with 25 back offices with the BPO agents.
Wow.
So that was massive. And the solution, we implemented just 5 bots, streamlining the claim operations and improving the productivity by automating the repetitive task. And what was the benefits? Free up employees by performing the value adding analytics activities and reducing operational cost by 80%. We have reduced the operational cost by 80% and improved timeliness and accuracy. So the employees were used to looking to the other value added task rather than doing these kind of mundane tasks, right? So these kind of repeated tasks, everything got elevated and the operational cost got reduced to 80%, and efficiency also increased.
And I think in part, you're the reason why that company still exists today because other companies, it's a very competitive field, no matter what company you're in. And they are going through digital transformations quickly and AI quickly as well. We're going to talk about some actionable insights. So, right now, if there's a company leader and a business owner and they want to begin the digital transformation process, but either they haven't yet or they've had bad luck and failed, how can they assess where they are now, what they need to do in the future, and how they can begin on a digital transformation journey?
Absolutely. So the reason that a lot of organizations fail during their digital transformation is because they treat digital transformation like a renovation, replacing everything at once, right? Rather than it should be a surgery, treating one specific organ that is failing or the pain point that you see. And as I said, there are three questions that they need to ask: Where are we losing time? Where are we losing money? Are customers being frustrated? Where are they being frustrated? So once they have the answers to these questions, they would be able to identify a small area where they can try to digitize or transform and bring some value. And once they do that, they would have that confidence and they can slowly start doing all those pain point areas and scale it up to the digital level.
So, number one is to find the area that has the most pain in your company. And number two is to review that area, talk to providers, and discover which one would benefit the most from a digital transformation. And after that, I think it's going to spread throughout the organization. So these are good points for any company that's out there that's looking to redefine themselves. Because if you don't do it soon enough, your competition will, and they're probably working
Yes.
on it right now. So I want to go into the AI myth of the week. And we sort of touched on this before, but the myth is AI will replace most jobs, and then we can all just retire and sit back and watch the robots do everything. And of course, that's not true, except for the cleaning robots on your carpet. It will change roles, however. And the issue here is that you need time to reskill, and companies should encourage this. So if you're an owner of a company, a leader of a company, or just a regular employee, try to get your company to encourage people to reskill and to grow in the company and grow in their role. You can do this, they can do that. And as changes occur, because we know they are occurring and they are occurring quickly. And the only danger for AI and digital transformation is that rapid pace going on. Rohith, do you have any final insights And any advice to our listeners, maybe the top 2 or 3 things they should be thinking about and starting tomorrow?
Sure. So if there is one final insight leave listeners with, that would be the digital transformation isn't about technology, it's about the intent. That's the first thing. And the companies that succeed are clear about what they are trying to improve. They bring in people along the journey and they stay disciplined about measuring the impact. And lastly, when the transformation is tied to a real human and the business outcome, it stops being overwhelming and starts being achievable. So, in short, I would say transformation works when it's purposeful, people centered, and outcome driven.
You are totally right. So, again, thank you so much for being on our show today. It's really important to get this message out that digital transformation is needed, but it shouldn't be a crisis. It's a process, people driven first, process driven second, technology driven third.
Absolutely.
Rohith, thank you once again for being with us, and we will see everybody on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Track2AI Podcast. That's using the number 2, of course. And sign up for our email list. Go to www.track2aipodcast.com. And until next time, stay in the know and get on track. This podcast is for general informational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the guest are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of Chetu Inc., its management, or employees. Listeners should not solely rely upon the information provided and should consult appropriate professionals for advice tailored to their individual specific needs. Neither the host, guest, nor Chetu Inc. make any warranties, expressed or implied, regarding the information provided.